2022 is here, and I saw a movie that at the end of the year, if this isn't one of my top 10 favorite films of the year, well, then we're in a good year for movies. Welcome to the Beniverse. Hello, my name is Ben Friedman. Welcome to the Beniverse, and today I am talking about Megan Park's directorial debut, The Fallout. The Fallout is a hard premise to make a good movie out of because this film follows the aftermath of a school shooting, and I think that's an idea that's already very emotionally raw for a lot of people, potentially triggering, and one that you just wouldn't want to explore for any amount of time. But what this movie does so brilliantly is it opens up wounds and has an open discussion about something that we need to be talking about, and it puts all the life and heart and love towards the victims of those who perish during school shootings, but then also those that remain and have to suffer the losses of life and the tragedy that unfolds around them. The film follows Vada and Mia after the events of a school shooting and them trying to basically get back to a way of normal and cope with the tragedy that's bestruck their town. What I found so endearing about this movie is their friendship. It's very emotional, it's very raw, it feels very real, and those two actresses just perform it with an utmost respect towards the subject matter, and one that is able to just cope with all the emotion.
What are you feeling right now?
I feel mad.
You went through something no one should ever have to go through.
Can you stay just till I fall asleep?
Actresses Jenna Ortega and Maddie Ziegler just do an amazing job at just breaking down the emotions that come with this event. Just their friendship is so endearing. It feels so real. It's emotionally vulnerable. It's able to find comedy in just the tragedy, while also just paying the utmost respect to the survivor. One of the things I found the most challenging walking into this movie was I didn't want to see a movie about a school shooting. Thought it could come off as really insensitive and does more harm than good. What I was so impressed with Megan Park's directorial debut is how tender these moments are, and that it's not about this event, even though everything is revolving around it. It is about these characters healing and dealing with trauma and tragedy. The actual scene in discussion happens really briefly. It's within the first 5 minutes of the movie, and it is a heartbreaking sequence, and it is one that is painful to watch. But it's never gratuitous, it's never graphic, and it's never distasteful. It's just an honest look, and you focus on these few characters in the film who are reacting and the adrenaline and terror that's going through them. This sequence is awe-dropping in its presentation, in its honesty, and just in its actors' performances in this sequence. You feel the anxiety they're going through, and the sequence that lasts maybe no more than 2 minutes feels like a 10-minute sequence because of just the fear that's going through your mind and the fact that you are sitting there with these characters as they're experiencing something horrific.
This can't be for nothing. We won't even let this be for nothing.
The Fallout tells the story of these characters post the tragedy at their school and the fear, burdens, and anxieties that leaves them with. And it's a really honest conversation about it. There's different characters who are going through different things. One's lost friends, another one's lost siblings, others just feel the urge to do something, so they start a movement. It's all of these emotions that are going through these characters at once, and it always feels authentic to this event and to these characters. It holds these teenagers as what they should be seen as, teenagers, people who shouldn't be faced in this situation, but unfortunately are put in this terrible situation, and it never casts aspersions on them. It never does the common cliches where they just start fighting for no reason. It doesn't do anything. It's a movie about bond and unification and healing. And you see these characters going through the stages of grief and reflecting with one another, and them taking out their just fear and anger on each other. And it's a very vulnerable movie. You see characters struggle with sleeping. You see them struggling to go back to school. You see the post-traumatic stress that these teenagers have to face. And what I love about this movie is, again, not only its rawness, but the authenticity of these characters. Jenna Ortega, who plays the main character, Vada, just does a beautiful job with this role. And her story is maybe the most emotionally impactful. You get to see her struggles and fears and anxieties post this tragedy, and you get to see this character coping with it all. And it's such a refreshing take on a teenager where it does just feel honest to the age. Megan Park does a great job of writing this dialogue that feels authentic for teenagers to be saying. None of it comes off in this any way that could come off as preachy. It never comes off as a millennial trying to write for Gen Z. It's just a direct movie that gets to the heart of this situation. What I found so beautiful about this movie is its willingness to discuss something so hard, but also put all of its attention and focus on healing. This movie is about coping. Sadly, with the nature of this movie, it's really too relevant, which is just horrifying. The fact that more teenagers go through this than any time before, and that it just seems to be something so... It's something that happens so often to teenagers. The fact that this isn't a rare thing that happens, the fact that we hear of stories happening over and over again, and that we're not willing to try and change anything about it. This film is empowering because it's almost a voice to the anger, but it never focuses on the anger. It focuses on the beauty of life and coping and acceptance and love. This film is about love and preaching kindness and moving forward together. The fact that one person can cause all this damage, but it affects millions of lives, and that it then takes that village, that city, to re-emerge and for all of them to come together to heal. It's an empowering story, and it's one that's beautiful, and it's so relevant. 95 minutes of just beauty and sorrow and seeing the worst of humanity, but also seeing humanity move forward and seeing these characters make something and pick up the pieces of their broken lives. It's absolutely stunning, and Megan Park does such an amazing job at the director's seat, and all of these performances are great, from the main teenagers to the parents. Julie and Bowen just gets to just have these emotionally raw scenes that are harrowing because it's a mother in fear for her children. There gets to be a really good supporting role from Shailene Woodley, just doing something so honest and beautiful in this film as the therapist, just allowing voice to often what feels like the voiceless, the things we try to hide and repress the farthest. She gives that credence to be explored in an open and honest dialogue. The Fallout is one of the best movies I've seen recently. If this had come out in 2021, it honestly might have been my favorite movie of the year. And I can't recommend this movie because of its subject matter. If you can get through this movie, and if you're able to get past those things that are so triggering and hard, which I know for a lot of people they aren't, and that's a very understandable feeling. If you are able to, check out this movie because it's brilliant in every way, and The Fallout is a huge recommendation for me, and I just can't sing this film's praises enough. Megan Park just absolutely floored me with this directorial debut and made one of the most beautiful and honest films I've just seen of the last few years. Thank you for listening to this review.